Today I would like to discuss with you the negative effects that the minimum drinking age of 21 has on students high school to college age by discussing how these kids are not properly educated once they get to that age, how they're being led into a heavily drinking culture on college campuses, and they're how easily accessible they can get alcohol from these outlet stores and gas stations, and what these institutions are and aren't doing to help prevent this from happening. So Dr. Ben Fitzpatrick, a professor of math and a research conductor over at Loyola Marymount University, wrote an article basically discussing that these kids on their way to college are not being properly taught how to drink responsibly. They're not given the opportunity to drink under a supervised or safe setting where they can really feel and really figure out the impairments, how to be safe in a social setting, how to drink responsibly and appropriately. Everything that comes with the dangers of alcohol, they're not being taught. So when they get to these cultures that are so heavy on drinking, they're being led down these misconceptions that leads to consequences and hurts them and others around them. So once these kids are not educated enough and they're being led into an environment with a more abundance of alcohol, and it's more accessible than they've ever had in their entire lives, they don't know how to handle themselves. And John McCardell, vice president and a professor of history over at the Sewanee University of the South, he recognized this, and in 2008, him and 134 other presidents of universities got together and created what they now call the Amethyst Initiative, which basically talks about how these kids are being led under these misconceptions and being harmed and being led down bad consequences due to the fact that they never got the opportunity to really learn the effects of alcohol and what it does to you. And Drew Saylor, another research conductor at the University of Virginia, she conducted a study about the alcohol use on college campuses and found that 91% of all alcohol consumed is consumed by binge drinkers, which is when you're drinking more than 5 drinks at a time on an occasion. And she found that 68% of that 91% were binge drinkers who are drinking more than 3 occasions a week. So we really get a good grasp of what environment is surrounding college when it regards to drinking. And what is fueling this? Well, it's how easily accessible these kids are getting alcohol from these outlet stores and these gas stations. Whether it be servers being under the influence of some kind of psychological influence that they don't know themselves. Like Dr. Joel Grube, he conducted a study and found that physically attractive people get away with it a lot more, get away with buying alcohol a lot more, and found that young girls, attractive girls, get away with buying alcohol about 50% of the time while they're underage. And Mike McCall also conducted a study where he found that in 24 small Midwestern towns, about half of them were serving to underage kids. And in New York State and Washington, D.C., he conducted a study and found about 50 to 90% of outlet stores were serving kids 18 to 20. So if these servers and stores aren't solving your problem, what will? Well, these institutions and universities think that it's an educational prevention program. Well, Dr. Henry Walsh, a professor of public school of health over at Harvard University, he wrote an article discussing this, and he talks about a survey that was conducted where it shows that these institutions are focusing their efforts more on educational prevention programs than they are enforcing their policies. And Dr. Walsh follows this up with saying that decades of research have been done that prove that this is deemed ineffective. These educational programs do not work. So by lowering the drinking age to 18, we would solve these problems and have more responsible drinkers and change the societal norms of college and the persona that surrounds its alcohol problem. Thank you.